Hi everyone, and welcome to our Facebook Live. In this chat, we'll be discussing IEPs and 504 plans. My name is Rayma Griffin, and I will be your host today. At the start of a new school year, parents and caregivers often have concerns about how their children will adjust to the new demands At the start of a new school year, parents and caregivers often have concerns about how their children will adjust to the new demands and challenges, and they wonder whether their children's IEPs or 504 plans are reflective of the current needs and situations. I hope that I can answer some of those questions for you today. While we're waiting for some of you to join, please let me introduce myself. I'm a practitioner with over 40 years of experience working with both children with learning disabilities and attentional issues, and also with their families. Most importantly, I'm the mom of 2 daughters and the grandma of 6. So I've been on both sides of the desk over the years and can empathize with the challenges both parents and teachers face. I taught children who learn and think differently for many years, and then did administrative work in curriculum development, teacher training, and supervision. I was also part of a team of educators who started a school for children with learning disabilities and attentional issues, and I was a director of admissions and placement there for many years. Currently, I'm an independent educational consultant helping families who have children with learning and thinking differences find appropriate resources and placements to meet their unique needs. I'm also a consultant at Understood, where I was part of the original startup team, and also a consultant at Wonder, where I am host of the group Ask an Expert about IEPs, 504 plans, and advocacy. If you haven't downloaded the Wonder app yet, please do so. It is free and designed to offer resources to families of kids who learn and think differently. There is a link on the screen for you to join. Just click on the Open link and download Wonder to your device, Android, or Apple. Once you're in the app, you can create a username and join the groups that are of interest to you. It is a great place to ask questions of experts, share experiences with other families, and get connected to resources that can help you better help your child. You're not alone in this journey. Wonder is here to help. When you submit your questions today, please give me a little bit of information so I can better answer the questions correctly. For example, it would be helpful to know if you are a parent or a caregiver of a child with learning and thinking differences, if you are a teacher working with a child with learning or thinking differences, or you're just here to gather information for yourself. If you are the parent of a child or a teacher looking for information, please provide the child's age and grade and where you are in the process of considering an IEP or 504 plan for your child. You can ask your questions in the chat box. Thanks. While people are joining the chat and thinking about the questions they would like to ask, let me give you a little background information about IEPs and 504 plans. Both individualized education plans, IEPs, and 504 plans can offer help for kids in grades K through 12 who are struggling in school. Children can have both an IEP and a 504 plan if needed. Let's take a deeper look at both plans to see the similarities and the differences. An IEP is a plan for a child who requires special instruction to learn. It provides individualized special education and related services to meet a child's diagnosed needs. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, known as IDEA, requires schools to provide services to children identified with a disability. The school must provide a free and appropriate education at no cost to parents, and they must deliver the services in the least restrictive learning environment. To get an IEP, a child must have one or more of 13 disabilities listed in IDEA. The law lists specific challenges like learning disabilities, ADHD, autism, speech, hearing, and visual issues, and behavioral challenges. However, not all children with a diagnosed disability are eligible for or need an IEP. To qualify for an IEP, the identified disability must affect the child's ability to learn and benefit from the general education curriculum, and it suggests that a child needs specialized instruction to progress in school. An IEP is a legal, written document created by a team that includes parent or caregiver, a general education teacher, a special education teacher, a school psychologist, and may also include specialists like speech and language clinicians or occupational therapists if appropriate. A representative from the district with the authority over special education services leads that team. You have the right to invite outside professionals knowledgeable about your child's needs to participate in the IEP planning meeting. This might include an advocate, a specialized tutor, a psychiatrist or psychologist working with your child outside of school, or a private speech and language clinician or occupational therapist. It is also important to note that you, as the child's parent or caregiver, have an equal voice at the table. And since you know your child's strengths and needs better than anyone else, it is important to speak up at that meeting. The IEP will be based on data from an evaluation, information gathered from parents or caregivers and teachers about the child's performance, work samples, classroom observations, and any information from professionals with whom the child has worked. The IEP sets goals and includes specific information on how they will be both measured and tracked. The plan also describes the services that the school will provide, when and where those services will be delivered, and who will provide the different services. An annual review of an IEP plan is typical, but more frequent check-in meetings can be written into the plan if that makes sense for your child. The written document must be approved and signed by the parent or caregiver before the school can implement it with your child. IDEA also gives families several ways to resolve disputes if the family does not feel that the IEP is appropriate or being fulfilled correctly. These options include mediation, resolution sessions, due process complaint, and if all else fails, it also includes a lawsuit. The biggest difference between an IEP and 504 plan for kids in grades K through 12 is that a 504 plan is not special education. For students with disabilities who do not require specialized instruction to learn, but need the assurance that they will receive equal access to public education and services, a document is created to outline their specific accessibility requirements. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act is a civil rights law, not a special education law, but it protects against discrimination against people with disabilities, both in schools and in the workplace. A 504 plan is a blueprint for how the school will provide support and remove barriers for a child who is struggling to learn in the general education classroom. A child is entitled to a 504 plan if they have any disability that interferes with that child's ability to learn and access the curriculum in a general education classroom. Section 504 has a much broader definition of a disability than what is listed in the 13 conditions under IDEA to qualify for an IEP. Section 504 does require that the disability substantially limits one or more basic life activities like speaking, reading, communicating, or thinking. It also includes medical and mental health conditions that might interfere with a child's ability to access the curriculum. Some examples of these medical or mental health conditions that could result in a 504 plan would be mobility issues, ADHD, executive functioning issues, anxiety, or depression. A 504 planning team is also less specifically defined than an IEP planning team, and it does vary from state to state. Generally, the team will include the child's parent or caregiver, teachers familiar with the child and the evaluation data, service options, and available accommodations. And a school administrator leads that team, and it's usually the building principal. Unlike an IEP, a 504 plan does not have to be written. A 504 plan generally includes accommodations, supports, and services for the child, and lists who's responsible for delivering those services. Generally, 504 plans are renewed annually, and parents have similar options to resolve disagreements with the school to those provided to students who are eligible for IEPs. A child with a 504 plan receives services in the general education classroom at no expense to a family. IDEA funds cannot be used to provide accommodations or supports listed in a child's 504 plan, but the federal government can and will take funding away from any school or program that does not meet their legal duty to serve kids with disabilities. One of the differences between an IEP and 504 plan that is important to acknowledge is that an IEP is available to a student until that child graduates from high school. A 504 plan, on the other hand, is available to a student throughout postgraduate placement and into the workplace if they qualify. I realize this is a lot of information to digest, so I've included or will include some links to resources that you can review as needed to help you better understand the differences between an IEP and a 504 plan. And now I'm sure you have questions, so let's get started. I see one here that says, my son has an IEP. He's in 4th grade. I'm always wondering, how do you know if the child is getting all the help that is needed? What should I be looking for? That's a great question. And it's really important for parents, number one, to work with the team to create the plan so you know that it's appropriate to begin with, and to schedule communication between the teacher and the team and the home so that you know what is happening. I think children are great reporters as well. I mean, your child's only in 4th grade, but still, you know, were you pulled for speech today? If his speech is supposed to happen on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, ask your child if he's receiving the services that he's supposed to have or the accommodations that are supposed to be part of the plan. It's really important to partner with the school and to set up some type of communication system with the classroom teacher. Teachers are very busy. They have a lot of children to attend to. So we also have to be respectful of their time. But a quick email once a week just to touch base to see how a child is doing is very helpful, both for you to provide information to the teacher for what you're observing at home and for what your child is reporting. Because sometimes children are not accurate reporters too. So you want to make sure that you're getting the information from the teacher as well as your child and working with that teacher to make sure that the services are being provided. I have another question here. I have a student who needs extra time as an accommodation for anxiety and processing speed issues and low percentile. How low does a percentile have to be in processing speed to acknowledge that it's a low PS disability as measured by the WAIS or the WISC? Again, processing speed difficulty is very common in children who learn and think differently. And that would be, if part of the evaluation, the psychologist or psychiatrist who perform the testing and the assessments would list processing speed difficulties and should have listed accommodations for how to address that. Certainly providing extra time for a child is something that is going to be very important for a child who processes information more slowly. But again, that would really be something that would be written up by the psychologist. And generally, not only do they share percentiles, but they will very specifically talk about if this is an issue for this particular child, what specific ways should that be addressed in the classroom. Another question, if you are denied an IEP, should the school offer a 504 plan, or do you need to request the school provide a 504 plan? That's a good question as well, because if a child is denied an IEP, it generally means that either the evaluation did not indicate that one of the 13 conditions that's required to be eligible for an IEP was present when they did the testing, or that whatever condition that they identified from the assessment is not in any way interfering with the child's ability to perform in school and access the curriculum. If a child has been denied an IEP, but you feel that there are issues that are still present and need to be addressed in order for your child to access the curriculum in an appropriate way, you can always request that a 504 plan be put in place. Whenever you do request, whether it be an evaluation or an IEP or a 504 plan, be sure to state the specific reasons why you're looking for more information to help your child. You might be seeing things at home that the school is not seeing. So in writing, whether it be in an email or a letter to the team, it's important to state specifically whether you see a child having a difficult time initiating tasks or completing tasks or staying on task, which for many of the children is a challenge. Things that might affect the child's ability to complete assignments in a correct way. So these are very important specific information that you're looking for. Sometimes accommodations can be put in by the classroom teacher that don't even require an IEP or a 504 plan. It's just a thoughtful teacher responding to the needs of an individual child. But you certainly, if you are denied an IEP and you feel that your child really needs specific specialized instruction in order to learn, you have the right to mediate or negotiate with the school to share your opinions, and hopefully you have data to support that, whether it's outside testing or information from outside specialists with whom your child is working to indicate that indeed they do require specialized instruction to learn. If indeed the child does not require specialized instruction to learn and does not qualify for an IEP, you can still request that they be given accommodations or supports in the general education classroom to remove any barriers that you see or professionals with whom your child is working see are interfering with their ability to access the curriculum. So you have the right to mediation, to resolution meetings and negotiation meetings with the team. You can file a complaint if you feel that your requests and concerns are falling on a deaf ear and you're not getting the response that you feel you need. You can file a complaint that you really don't feel that this is appropriate. You can go to due process, and you have the right eventually to seek a lawsuit against the school if you do not feel that your child's needs are being met. Okay. I am a mom of an 8th grader with an IEP. His OT service is always 3 weeks late after school starts. After my number of emails with the school and the director of pupil services, I was told the missing OT sessions will be made up later, but my son never had the makeup sessions. Should I call the state office to complain about it? I worry I will put my son in a bad situation in school if I do. It's so important to stay on top of your child's plan and advocate for your child. But there are ways of doing it where it can be seen as a concerned parent looking to partner with the school versus someone who is being antagonistic in a certain situation. So definitely state your concern. And make sure you do it in writing, because if you do get to those stages where you're going through mediation or negotiations and you get to a point where you have to file a complaint or go to a lawsuit, the more documentation you have of your requests and the school's response or lack thereof, the better it will be for your case. But certainly, definitely stay on top of that and hold them accountable for what's written into your child's plan. It is a legal document, and if indeed they're not providing the services that are written into the plan, then they're out of compliance, and you have every right to file a complaint. But I would always start with trying to work with them first, because that does create a situation where you're part of the team. You're part of the team who has the child's best interests at heart, and that is going to get you a lot further than taking on an antagonistic response initially. Does a 504 plan require an evaluation by the district? Can the school require a parent to get a private diagnosis to accommodate? No, a 504 plan does not require an evaluation, unlike an IEP, which does. A 504 plan can be put together by observations shared from parents or caregivers and teachers of a child who should be educated in the general education classroom, but there are barriers that are stopping that child from being able to access it. So that should be can be put together without an evaluation. And a school cannot force a family to get an outside evaluation. A school has to provide an evaluation free of charge to the parents if there is a concern that the child might require special education, and that has to be provided by the school free of charge to the family, and they cannot require that you have an outside evaluation done. Okay. All right, I think we're running out of time, unfortunately. And I really do appreciate your questions. They were all great questions, and some of them we're not going to be able to get to today. That is unfortunate when we have such a short time. If there are questions we didn't get to, or if you think of additional questions, please go to the Wonder app, and you can download the Wonder app by clicking on the link that's provided on the screen, and go into and join the IEP 504 Plan and Advocacy Group, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. If more come up along the way, please stay active in the group. We learn from each other. Thank you so much for participating today. I appreciate it. Have a great day.